shaken yet standing firm. This is Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Oh, I think they're doing a great job. A lot of them are.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon. Wow, it's Wednesday already. What a wonderful day indeed, and we shall rejoice and give thanks in it. Well, I invite you to be a part of a discussion, a chance to talk about a wonderful National Shilliford Foundation. At 1 p.m., we're going to focus on pensions with the Superintendent of Pensions, Ms. Ada Wormiston. So we invite you to be a part of a discussion. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Talk Today is brought to you by Fidelity Bank. For all your banking needs, visit fidelitygroup.com. Fidelity, we're good for you.
Also brought to you by greenturtle.ky. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app. The future of mobile. Saving lives today. Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email Talk Today at candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255. Courtesy of Flow.
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. Truly is an honor and a distinct sense of pride and respect that we welcome, in particular, Ms. Angeline Shilliford to our studio, together with Dr. Brendan Timothy and Ms. Jan Gupta. Ms. Shilliford, good afternoon, ma'am. Very special.
Good afternoon.
It's incredible that we look at our society and we see people with such resolve and resilience, such love and compassion, such genuine concern and commitment that we just draw strength from your faith, from your courage, from your enthusiasm. It's an honor to know that we have people who walk the face of the earth that are flesh like you. So again, I thank you for everything.
Oh, thank you. Too kind.
Mom, it truly is, and I say that partly because sometimes we wake up and we are energized and enthused, and then we get an email or phone call from someone. Maybe it's a colleague, maybe it's just an acquaintance that frustrates and infuriates, and then we realize, you know what? If we respond in flesh, we won't be any better. But then we think of people like you and get a chance to realize as we look forward to the day, wow, we too can be improved. And as we invite our listeners to share, I'm very, very grateful. So before we get into it and invite Dr. Timothy and Ms. Gupta to join us, maybe share with us. We know Saturday evening, for those who were able to log in and listen, it was a wonderful evening of fellowship and celebration. But share with us, if you would, initially, your opening thoughts, ma'am.
So that's for me, right?
Yeah, we'll get together to very important, but I think this shit was not as important as you. You're a star of the moment.
All right, so first of all, we are so privileged to be able to meet with you, even though we can't physically come into the studio, because obviously you are one of the Caymanian legends. So it's always a privilege to be on your show, and we thank you for carving out the time for us, because we know there's so many things happening around us, and there's so many important messages that need to get out there. And as I said to you privately, I personally want to thank you and your team and all the other media personnel and journalists for all the hard work that you're doing and getting out such important messages, which literally are life and death. So we do acknowledge the first responders, but we also need to acknowledge those who are doing the reporting, because if it wasn't for you and your team and your colleagues, we wouldn't know what was happening and we wouldn't be getting all the information that we have. So thank you for that.
Well, you're most welcome. The team here, they're amazing.
and also to thank Dr. Rendon Timothy, because he's the reason why we're here discussing, motivational messages, the movement, as I like to call it, and also the Ashley Shillingford Foundation, and to again just highlight the great work that Resilience Cayman is doing. So, as you mentioned earlier, there was a concert, a global COVID relief concert that happened on Saturday, the 30th of May. So Saturday just gone, and it was truly, I can't even explain it. It was like a life-changing experience for all of us who took part, helped Rendon, even though he did practically everything. But, all of the planning and the execution, and then for just those who took part in it and were able to listen. So it was a virtual concert, but it was an international concert of epic proportions. So we had, literal superstars like Conqueror, who I am still blown away, one of the reggae artists coming out of Jamaica, who did a fantastic tribute to my daughter, Ashley Shillingford, who passed away at 14 years old a few weeks ago. And then we also had Paul Lee and the Kingdom Choir, who sang at Meghan Markle and Prince Harry's wedding. And we had Committed, who were winners of NBC's a cappella national American competition, the Sing-Off. So we had like real proper celebrities who not only were we able to get their music involved, but they were able to be involved with the mission that, motivational messages is promoting, which, Rendon, Dr. Timothy will talk about. But the concert was just amazing, and it's going to be on on their website, www.motivationalmessages.org, so that those who weren't able or those who just want to relive the experience can go and see the highlights. Definitely Conqueror for me was the number one, because he was able to perform but incorporate Ashley's memory into what he was doing. So, my family and I were just so grateful that he and his team were able to take part, and that Rendon sneakily could actually coordinate the whole thing without us knowing. But for those who don't know, myself and my husband, Dr. Andy Shillingford, we lost our 14-year-old daughter Ashley, who went to Cayman Academy. So she came to Cayman when she was 4 months old, and she lived here for most of her life. And tragically, we lost her to a brain hemorrhage towards the end of March. So it was totally sudden. She just woke up one morning, and by the next day she passed away. So there was no time to prepare for this. It wasn't any long-standing thing that we were preparing for, because it just came out of nowhere. And it actually happened the weekend that Cayman was just getting ready to lock down. So school had been out from the week before, and the airport was shutting on the Sunday. She passed away on the Saturday. So for our family, for myself and Andy, and for Renee, her younger sister, who's 10, it was just totally unexpected, and it was the biggest blow to our family ever. But we've been able to just try to make this negative and turn it into a positive, which is why we've established the Ashley Shillingford Foundation for Positive Living, where we can focus on giving tweens, children and teens the skills that they need in terms of life coping skills, and also to focus heavily on education in terms of anxiety and depression for that age group, because we can't discuss mental health enough. So everything that has happened up until now, we've made sure that we've incorporated mental health education into it, because we want to make sure that this generation can be the first generation to grow up knowing that it's okay not to be okay, but also to know that they have to get help if they're not doing well, if they're feeling anxious, if they're nervous, if they're feeling down, and that they don't have to deal with it. So the Ashley Foundation was honored that Dr. Rendon Timothy allowed us to be a part of his program, and to be a part of the motivational messages, and to take part in the concert, which focused on providing relief for COVID-affected families here in Cayman.
I tell you, again, we pray that only God's comfort, guidance, and grace will be with you and your family. But as you shared, you're taking something that should never be visited upon in your family, and you're using it in a very positive way. Dr. Timothy, when we come back from the break, maybe we invite you to share about emotional messages and speak to some of the other things. As a physician, you're called to do no harm, but to see the greatness to come. So we can invite you in equally, Ms. Gupta, perhaps in the perspective as Ashley shared, talk a little bit about resilience, Cayman. Let us pause, reflect, perhaps be pensive in prayer, and as we return, we'll talk more. Please stay tuned for Talk Today.
Social distancing is crucial for our community to get back to normal. And never before has communication been so crucial. Keeping in touch with family, friends, and up to date requires you to stay in touch. Green Turtle offers the solution for both. Download the Green Turtle app now. Top up yours or a loved one's phone with any mobile carrier in any destination in Cayman. Phones delivered to your home, and with the new rewards program, you can even redeem points towards a new phone and other products. Download the Green Turtle app today. Green Turtle is not only the future of mobile, but today it can help save a life. Hashtag Stay Home Cayman. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app. The future of mobile, saving lives today.
GIS produced and hosted a teen panel featuring teenagers discussing how they are coping with COVID-19.
Child Month Teen Panel 2020. Our topic is one that is dominating the news agenda globally, the COVID-19 pandemic.
Listen this Wednesday at 7:30 p.m.
The COVID-19 pandemic.
Hear the voices of your young people, Cayman.
Our specific focus is the impact that COVID-19 is having on our teenagers.
This Wednesday evening at 7:30, right here on Radio Cayman.
Brought to you by the Department of Children and Family Services.
Stay home and be a part of the listening audience.
I've got some beautiful clothes. I know just where they go. Puritan Cleaners.
We are open. Visit Puritan Cleaners drive-through off Eastern Avenue, 8 a.m. till 3 p.m., Monday to Saturday. Our Elgin Avenue and Savannah locations will remain closed. However, your items can easily be transferred to Eastern Avenue. Just call us at 949-7104. That's 949-7104 with your request. Puritan Cleaners, you feel good when you look good.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
I have various items coming from different suppliers that I need to ship to Cayman. Do you offer consolidation?
Yes, Seaboard Marine offers consolidation for full and less than container loads. We can hold your packages at our Miami warehouse until everything arrives and ship it all in one go. And we have the best rates to Grand Cayman. Visit seaboardmarine.com for more information.
Shipping shore to shore,
Although the hard and soft curfew is limiting for older persons who may be missing their usual outings with family and friends, Captain Paul Hurlston of Georgetown says he's lived through more stringent privations and thinks his generation is often more self-reliant than the younger generation.
I'm doing fine. I'm keeping busy, digging up out in the yard. I try to keep active and obey all the rules. But this is nothing strange to me because, the 1944 hurricane, I've been through that. I was 13 years of age at then. Then I went through Gilbert. I went through Ivan. And now this. It's not affecting me. I'm old-fashioned, I don't have any credit card, no WhatsApp, none of the modern equipment. So I'm doing very well.
If you or someone you know needs assistance, call the Older Persons Helpline at 1-800-534-2222 today for free and confidential support. This message was brought to you by the Department of Children and Family Services.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. Honored to have as our guests Ms. Angeline Schillifer, Dr. Von Rendon Timothy, and Ms. Jan Gupta. Dr. Timothy, we've had you on in the past on a number of occasions in relation to AOI, as you and your Adventist counterparts go about in the community as youth. Back then, not just empowering and encouraging, but enabling others to come out and make an impact throughout the districts. We see that same level of commitment to our community, whether it transcends the the ER, whether it's just, within the pews. To whom much is given, much is required. We're reminded, sir. So good afternoon to you.
Well, it's always a pleasure to be with you, Dwayne, and the tremendous job that you and your team are doing. I can't see your face, but I can picture your beautiful smile and your woman pleasant spirit while
God's
you
grace.
chat over the radio. Yeah, so like you said, I've been on your show before in the past with respect to youth projects, and motivational messages was actually born out of that same spirit and desire to help our young people in particular. Just a few people know the genesis of why this idea was born. So I can just share it now that it's over. I think making it public is not too bad. Um, the Bible says in the last days, young men shall dream dreams and see visions. And what happened actually was I had a nightmare. I think it was back in early April, just about 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks after the shutdown. I had a nightmare. I counsel young people, and I've been in the mental health ward at the General Hospital too many times. And the persons that I see in there are usually persons from 14 or 15 years to like early 20s, right? Usually very young persons, millennials and teenagers, most of whom had actually tried to commit suicide. Those are all of the persons that I've seen when I attend the hospital. Some of them are known to me. Some of them, I was referred to because their friends, they call me Uncle Ren. Go chat with Uncle Ren, and he'll give us some encouragement and words of wisdom. And so early April, I had a nightmare where 4 young people in Cayman, 3 of whom are affiliated with our 16 churches throughout Cayman Islands and Cayman Brac. 3 of them in the vision or in the dream, in the nightmare, actually committed suicide. Yeah. I don't know if in the dream it was in April or if it was like I'm foreseeing something. But I woke up cold sweating and I began to pray and think about what do I do to prevent this, because I cannot go visit them because we're in lockdown, right? Yeah. You have social distancing rules in place, and so I guess it was this, we will say as Christians, the Holy Spirit. People may call it, we had a feeling or a good thought. Or it doesn't matter. The idea came to me that we need to do something to motivate our youth to try to reduce the level of anxiety and depression and loneliness that our young people may face. Not just these persons who were within the dream, but just in general in Cayman Islands. And then as a teacher advocate as well, I felt impressed that we should do something equally to motivate teachers, because they are some of the persons who are, I pray that after COVID, parents will have a lot more respect for teachers, because teachers are usually one of the categories of persons who are really underappreciated for the work that they do and the contributions that they make to our society. And so we decided to call the program Maze Motivational Messages for Millennials and Mentors being teachers and guardians and stuff. And so that's where the idea was born. And then it just coalesced into a beautiful series in early May with Jeremy Anderson and Gillian Monet, who are 2 top international motivational speakers. They came on board virtually, and we did a week of targeted inspirational messages to teachers and to youth, and they were tremendously blessed by that. And then we thought, the ideas keep flowing, and we had a great team. Angelina was part of that team, an excellent team, and we decided that, we should do something for first responders and also for the community in general, as a way to make people smile and laugh, and also to say thank you to the wonderful work that our Premier and Minister of Health and Governor and Chief Police Officer and the entire country and leadership is doing to minimize the impact of COVID. And it is really interesting that one of the members of our team were really good friends with Jan Gupta of Resilience Cayman, and we thought, you know what, we should be thinking more of partnership and helping each other as well. And so we brought Jan on board. We had a meeting of the hearts because what she wanted to do for the community is exactly what we wanted to do, and we saw that we are blown away by what she and her team was doing, and we thought, a collaborative effort will be really nice. And so John was able to partner with us as we use the concert as a way not just to bring relief through laughter and good music, but also find a way to raise some funds and also to raise awareness of these, I will call it underappreciated organizations and people who are working so diligently behind the scenes to help those in our community. And it was my privilege to meet Jan and to work alongside her. And so the concert was epic, as Angeline said. We had artists from representing about 27 countries, some of who are Sony record label, Grammy Award winners, and they caught the vision and they came on board, and it was an awesome event. Fortunately for those who missed it, we are working on getting the recording and trying to relive the experience, and so that will be uploaded to our website pretty soon. During the concert, we were able to make donations or pledges to Resilience Cayman, to Elsie Miles and the Georgetown Soup Kitchen, to Angela Maduri and the Ebenezer Community Services Department, to Angela Hall and the Savannah Community Services Department, and to Tilly's Restaurant, who is providing 107 hot meals every day for persons in the community. And most people don't know about that, so we wanted to bring that awareness and affirmation to what these good people are doing. I always say you don't have to go to church to be good, right? And I've found that there are so many, and I also like to say that crises and money amplifies who you are. So if someone is very generous, if they become super rich, man, the world will be a much better place. But if someone is really stingy and they become super rich, the world is a much worse place. And by contrast, if somebody is very generous and you are living in a crisis, the world becomes better because that person is selfless in the acts to help. And the reverse is true. If someone is very selfish in a crisis, the world becomes a worse place because they just think about themselves. And I've come across Jan and others who are so selfless, man, and it was such a refreshing feeling to know that they are persons who have the same heart and the same mind to give assistance. Our church gives out food stuff, but we wanted to also give an opportunity for smiles and laugh and camaraderie and partnership and collaboration. Because at the end of the day, Sterling, this is not about personal glory. This is not about which organization can outdo the next one. This is about how do we work together for the common good to make our Cayman Islands a better place. And I think we accomplished that. And we will continue to accomplish that through the partnerships that we have with Resilience, through the Ashley Shillingford Foundation, which I'm just blown away by Angeline's tenacity and diligence and the ability to just turn a negative into a positive. I think that speaks volumes in and of itself. And so it was a beautiful experience. We don't plan to end here. This is actually the start. It's actually the start, and so you should probably look out for more things that motivational messages, movement, as we would call it, will be doing in collaboration with some of our partners, including the Ashley Shillingford Foundation for Positive Living, Resilience Cayman, the Alex Panton Foundation, and anybody else who wish to come aboard and just work together, work hand in hand to make our Cayman Islands a much more beautiful place.
Amen, man. Together we make it stronger, safer, not just secure, but the stability, economically, political, and socially, as we go with the spiritual process. Miss John, as Dr. Wren shared that the whole idea that people with a heart of service who are, you know, just unselfish in their constant commitment to our community. Welcome aboard again, Mom. It's a pleasure to sort of meet you virtually, as it were, not long ago. So share with us about resilience, Cayman.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me again. So it's nice to be invited again, and I really want to thank Angeline and Dr. Timothy, what they put together and their stories, their personal stories that they shared just now with you. That really blew me away. And something Dr. Timothy said resonated with me, two things actually. One was that the crisis, any crisis, and I actually had mentioned this to a friend when we were in March, and it seemed like there was going to be a lockdown and a meaningful change in how we live our lives, was that this crisis is going to bring out the worst and the best in humanity. And we're seeing that every day. And the other is just their own stories of resilience, especially Angeline, who have lost a child just weeks ago, and to be thinking of other children and reaching out and creating a positive impact. I mean, this is just so humbling, and it resonated with me because that was the impetus for forming Resilience, was this need to get outside of just thinking about me or what do I need, and saying, what does the community need? Mm-hmm. And it helped me to address any sense of, confusion and fear about the unknown of what was coming next for all of us. And I have to say it was really the coming together of the community that's happened, and the wonderful people I've got to meet through this experience, through the effort of Resilience Cayman, has been so inspirational. Getting to know Angeline and Dr. Timothy, and I mean, the impact just keeps multiplying. So you start, it's almost like you begin a ripple, and then there's other ripples, and they all kind of combine into this gigantic positivity. And that's when they had the concert. That was an evening where it had been a very challenging day in terms of how many people we were supporting and providing relief to, and some of the human stories we were hearing of people struggling and their grief and desperation, even just to find food. And that concert was so uplifting for me personally that I am really grateful to have been a part of it.
As I listen to you, I'm mindful, of that. As Dr. Timothy shared, that commitment, by so many, and the need for us to continually find ways to partner. Respectfully, when we come back from this sort of final break in this segment, perhaps we can speak more to that. And of course, Ms. Jennifer, invite you to share as well as Dr. Timothy. To listeners, we invite you to rejoin us after the break.
Fidelity Bank would like to thank all essential workers. We salute your efforts and thank you for the sacrifices you've made to keep us all safe. During these challenging times we're facing, our top priority is the health and safety of the communities we serve. And while it's true that things are changing rapidly every day, one thing that will never change is our commitment to giving you the best and sound financial solutions to help you during and after the coronavirus pandemic. At Fidelity Bank, our focus will always be you. Fidelity, we're good for you.
At Cayman National, we care about public health, ours and yours. We ask you to please wear a mask when visiting our locations, as we look forward to serving you in a safer environment. Remember, we're in this together, and it will take all of our help to make the Cayman community healthy again. Thank you for making Cayman National your bank of choice.
Members of the public are reminded that the new curfew period will run nightly, 8 p.m. until 4:30 a.m. through Saturday, 6 June 2020. Adjustments will be made for the hard curfew period from Sunday, 7th June 2020 through Monday, 22nd June 2020. The curfew period will be from 10 p.m. until 4:30 a.m. daily. The new imposition of curfew order relates to Grand Cayman and Cayman Brac only. During this period of curfew, only exempted essential services personnel may be on the road, outside, and away from their residence. Social distancing requirements apply, and persons should not congregate in groups of more than 2 through Saturday, 6 June.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us. It truly is a pleasure to welcome the opportunity to speak with Miss Angeline Schillerford, Dr. Rendon Timothy, and Miss Jan Gupta. From that perspective, as we're looking at the needs that are in our community and the many different organizations, charitable gestures. Dr. Timothy, you were sharing there's so many through our churches, even on the individual basis of the members, organized through the different sort of ministries and the like. We're seeing that a lot of this is happening, has been happening, is without any sort of fanfare. Maybe I could ask two things initially. First, the notion that this, on a sort of a concerted effort, is a lot of similar activity, but in this particular time, it seems that despite so many people doing so much, there's still such a great need. Is that how it is? Is it just as for a season? I mean, what do you make of that from that perspective when people try to appreciate that there is this almost overwhelming need in our community? Your thoughts, sir?
Yeah, so I think you asked the right question, and that is despite all that is happening, there's still so much of a need. I think, and I'll defer to Jan as well, just to give her comments. But I think the need for partnership and collaboration is critical. The Bible says, I'm paraphrasing. This is Rendon Timothy International Vision. Your right hand should know what your left hand is doing, and that can be taken in a few different contexts. But what we want to draw from this is you actually want to have a well-coordinated effort between the organizations and persons that are helping. That will prevent both doubling up as well as ensuring the resources that we have are allocated in the most equitable manner. But I think highlighting what organizations are doing is equally critical, because you want persons who have the means to be able to contribute towards this great need, that they have very many different outlets through which they can channel that help. I never knew about Resilience Cayman, and I wouldn't have known about them if it wasn't for a good friend of mine, Robert Lynch, at ICCI, part of our team, who actually made the introduction to Jan. And so you have organizations that are doing a lot, and I think it should be public. I don't know if it should be listed on a governmental website and say, hey, these are the 20 or 30 organizations that are out there that are doing work. If you want to contribute, here's the information, here's the contact person, make arrangements with them. I don't know if that's the solution, but what I believe is there should be greater collaboration, so we know what each other is doing, and that's what we actually try to do with the funds that we got from sponsors, and we immediately turned it around as pledges to 5 organizations, because they are located throughout Cayman Islands, right? So Resilience might be more in the west. Georgetown Soup Kitchen is right in Georgetown. Savannah Community Services is on that side. For Ebenezer, they run their stuff out of Prospect. Tilly's Cayman is on West Bay Road, but they do their food stuff goes all around the island. We're trying to find a way of just ensuring that different pockets of persons with needs are all serviced. So I think the need is great, but I think that need can be reduced if we are working together and also highlighting the organizations that are doing stuff so people feel more comfortable to give and they have an opportunity to give. What we have done was we have left our website up and running. So if persons wanted to donate to Resilience or to Ashish Linkford Foundation or to any organization, they can just go online. We have an NPO certificate, so we can solicit. I thought I'd just put that out there, and that way the motivational messages movement can act, at least during this COVID crisis, as a repository and a conduit for making sure these 5 branches or organizations get whatever funding that we can bring in,
Yeah. Well, we have always reminded, as you sort of alluded to, the necessity is the mother of invention. And as Ms. John, as you were sharing, as this crisis was unfolding, we could see some who were willing to heed, some who were listening to their heart, could appreciate that there was something coming down the pipeline that may have been, for some, unprecedented, for others, overwhelming, but for those like you, as Dr. Timothy shared, with a heart to respond, there's that need that you can quickly respond to. From that perspective, Miss John, although Resilience Cayman is, relatively speaking, a new organization, its ethos, its commitment is historical.
Yes, one of the key things we wanted to do was, of course, we wanted to offer support where it was needed. But as a group, a small group of us as volunteers, what we were also very clear on is we didn't want to duplicate any efforts. And we wanted to collaborate with all the good work that was already taking place. But we did find that there were pockets, large pockets, because the need is so widespread, to your earlier point. I don't believe that there has ever been a crisis where the impact has been so wide-ranging and for such a sustained period of time. And what we found is that although certain groups were doing excellent job for their traditional constituents, so for example, Meals on Wheels takes care of so many seniors traditionally, and of course they've seen large demand rise also for their services, with Feed Our Future, with children being taken care of. What we found is that agencies or groups that were focused on worker needs, so all of these thousands of workers who all of a sudden pretty much on the same day or the same week started getting laid off, unemployed. And some may have qualified for government assistance, but a lot of them didn't. There was a gap, and that humanitarian crisis was just growing as the weeks and the months rolled on. And what we're seeing even now, although we are seeing the reopening of the economy slowly, is that the need for food assistance has not yet gone down. And I can only attribute that to the fact that from the time that people would perhaps get back to work, if they have jobs to go back to, and their business is open, to when they actually get the first paycheck, there is still going to be a time lag. So we're measuring kind of and seeing some of that food support through, we have systems that we invested in, and to make sure we could really understand what is the need that is not being serviced through other groups, and through lots of ongoing conversations with government as well as other groups. It was, we still have a few months to go. So because hunger is something that will strike people down in days, in a matter of days. It's not something that waits around for months until repatriation flights can be arranged, let's say, for example, with stranded foreign workers, or even for Caymanians who not have to get retrained because their jobs are not coming back in the industries, certain industries. So that immediate need has not yet subsided. That's essentially what we're seeing in real time on a daily basis at the present time.
And Dr. Timothy, as you were sharing at the outset, the whole idea, as Ms. Angelina was sharing equally as we started, that our millennials or young people, we see statistics indicate that they are probably amongst the highest group who are being impacted when it comes to this whole issue of their mental wellness. Good to see you, of course. Maybe we can have that discussion some more in subsequent programs.
Yep. No, definitely. Like I said, this is actually just the start. We think there's going to be a continuing need, even after the economy reopens, just in terms of people getting readjusted and recalibrated. I think there's going to be a significant emotional, mental health need there as well. And we're happy that the Ashley Linkford Foundation is already thinking ahead. I think Angeline can probably share in the last couple of minutes, one of the main drives that they're going to have in the summer. Angeline, you want to share that before we close off?
Only take a second. So we want to initiate a reading drive for teens and the children, so we can have the children compete to see how many books they can read over the summer. But we also want to tap into their creativity, whereby according to their different age groups, they're able to pick one of the stories that they read and either develop a song or post a video or draw a painting where they can express themselves through their arts, and just for them to get their creative juices going. So anyone who's got a child in COVID land knows that right now they're stuck either at a desk or at a computer for 4 or 5 hours straight while they do school, and then when they finish that, because of social isolation, they can't even go out and play the way they normally would with their friends. They can't go to their cousin's house. They can't move around as freely. They're not able to see their classmates. And for some children, this has been going on since March, where they're literally in their house, sitting down, and that's all they're doing. So we want to get them into their creative mode. We want to get them to kind of use their creative side and do something other than stare at a phone or a tablet or a computer. So happily, we've already got informal agreements with some of the local businesses. So Buckingham Bay are happy to partner with us, and we're talking to a few other corporate bodies, and we're hoping that we can work with the schools. So for sure, Cayman Academy, where Ashley went to, will be on board, but we're going to reach out to the other high schools and the primary schools and even the nursery schools. So Right Start Preschool has already agreed, because the children might not be able to read when they're 1, but their parents can read to them, and they can still paint a picture or they can still post a video. Some of them are more media savvy than I am, and they're not even in their teens yet. So we want to get everybody involved, and we want for the parents to see that there's an alternative to Snapchat, Fortnite, and Roblox, and that the kids need to remember the skill of reading and need to remember that there are other things that they can do with their time aside from watching TV or YouTube. So that's one of the things that we're working on, and we're hoping that before school is out at the end of June, we'll be able to put out the information and launch this competition, because that's part of the positive living aspect of the foundation, is giving them a life skill, which is reading, and also to incorporate the education in terms of mental health and emotional health awareness. So we're working with Books and Books to put together some recommended reading for the different age groups, and some of those books will already be on island and others can be ordered, and we're going to try to make sure we do include some reference texts about self-esteem, about anxiety, just about building yourself up, and have those positive messages included so that our children really can, from again a negative, turn it into a positive.
Amen. Well, we're here to help continue with the partnership and with the publication. So when we go closer for that summer initiative, by all means, you know where to find me. Reach out to us. Again, invite you each to have a wonderful, rest of the day, and a particularly very productive and rewarding week. I look forward to our continuing discussion. So, be safe, be well, and to our listeners, join us after the break. We're going to talk about pensions. Miss Amy Wollaston will join us, the Deputy Director for Pensions of the Department of Labor and Pensions. Be blessed. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Satisfaction is guaranteed 24 hours a day, whether it's music or information.
From Grand Cayman to Cayman Brac to Little Cayman, we've got you covered.
You ever hear a thing like that?
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
We are Radio Cayman, and this is how we wake you up in the morning.
Praise time.
Praise Time on Radio Cayman.
Stairs, 'cause I know my Jesus answers all my prayers.
Praise Time.
Weekday mornings from 6 until 6:30.
Praise Time.
There's nothing to go back to.
Give me Jesus in the morning.
For the God of the mountain is still God in the
Praise
valley.
Time. Praise Time.
Jesus in the morning, yeah.
Weekday mornings from 6 until 6:30.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
It's only two species that we have, on my island.
Your voice, your choice.
It is in the best interest of the people of these islands.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
The Premier announced on Tuesday that there's great optimism that the construction sector is going to help move the island's economy in the coming months. With the current trend, there's also optimism that the tourism industry could see a recovery by the end of 2020. He added that if infection rates go higher in neighboring countries than at present, it would be something, quote, approaching madness to open Cayman's borders freely. U.S. President Donald Trump says Republicans have been, quote, forced to find another state to host their conference after North Carolina refused to budge on possible coronavirus restrictions. The president tweeted North Carolina's governor would not guarantee Republicans could use the venue, quote. Roy Cooper tweeted that Republicans had resisted, quote, changes to keep people safe. Several other states have volunteered to host the event instead. And Sweden's controversial decision not to impose a strict lockdown in response to the COVID-19 pandemic led to too many deaths, according to the man behind the policy. Sweden has seen a far higher mortality rate than its nearest neighbors, and its nationals are being barred from crossing their borders. Sweden has counted 4,468 deaths and 38,000 infections in a population of 10 million. Those are your headlines. I'm Carsley Fuller.
For the latest in news and information,
Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
your voice, your choice, your radio.
Social distancing is crucial for our community to get back to normal. And never before has communication been so crucial. Keeping in touch with family, friends, and up-to-date requires you to stay in touch. Green Turtle offers the solution for both. Download the Green Turtle app now. Top up yours or a loved one's phone with any mobile carrier in any destination in Cayman. Phones delivered to your home, and with the new rewards program, you can even redeem points towards a new phone and other products. Download the Green Turtle app today. Green Turtle is not only the future of mobile, but today it can help save a life. Hashtag Stay Home Cayman. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app. The future of mobile, saving lives today.
We are here for you. Whether you are in extreme financial need, have lost your job, have been directly or indirectly affected by the pandemic, we are here. The Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan is here to assist through the Cayman Islands Government Emergency Withdrawal Program. To withdraw, visit chamberpension.ky and complete the online application form by filling in your personal details, the amount you wish to withdraw, and upload a notarized government ID such as your passport or driver's license. For information as it happens, visit chamberpension.ky or follow our social media pages on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Email admin@pensions.ky or call 745-7630. We thank you for your patience as we address the high volume of email and phone queries. The Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. You can count on us.
During these challenging times, it can be easy to lose sight of all that we have to be grateful for. As the world grapples with the effects of COVID-19, at the forefront of the fight are the many frontline workers diligently ensuring the continuity of our islands. From the police service, members of the National Emergency Operations Center, healthcare workers, the DEH, grocery and pharmacy attendants, and so many more. Along with the daily conch call at 6:59 p.m., Radio Cayman invites the community to call in to talk today, every Friday, for Frontline Fridays. Share your stories and experiences and let us as a community start the gratitude trend to the many people putting their lives on the front line. Whether you have a family member on the front line and wish to give them a shout out, or if you have a personal experience of Cayman kindness, we want to hear from you. Frontline Fridays, every Friday on Talk Today.
For many seniors, visiting family and friends brightens their days and keeps them feeling connected. Knowing that this is temporary is helping Mary Lawrence of Bordentown to get through her days in self-isolation.
I am in touch with everybody. I'm in touch with all my family. I'm in touch with my friends. I'm in touch with older people in the community that we keep an eye on. I also have a big yard. I have a big garden that I spend a lot of time in. I take long walks. I cook. I have 3 days when I can be out, and I usually use those to maybe, like, I'll call and find out if somebody needs something, and when I go shopping, I shop for them too. I have a lot of things to occupy me. I have a full day. Plus, I read a lot. I write a lot. The days are full. I never seem to have any extra time to gripe and moan and complain. I do find that, though, that what I miss most of all is the physical contact with my family. And I miss being there for people, like when we have people who are ill in the community and you can't get to visit them, or families who are in bereavement, you can't get to go to visit them or go to the funerals. But it's not something that I think that's gone away forever. I know it's just all on. I tell myself that anyway because it makes it better. It's all on hold for that time when it happens again.
If you or someone you know needs assistance, call the Older Persons Helpline at 1-800-534-2222 today for free and confidential support. This message was brought to you by the Department of Children and Family Services.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us as we invite you to now join Ms. Amy Wollaston, the Deputy Director of Pensions, the Department of Labour and Pensions. Ms. Amy, thank you.
How are you?
Excellent. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's been too long since we had you, not only as a guest, but in our studio. You always lighten up the place, man. And not just your eloquence, but your knowledge and that sort of, technical approach, but the personable way in which you present it. So it's a pleasure once again to invite our listeners to listen and to learn and to be informed and engaged. So I hope your week has been going good thus far.
It has. It's been quite busy, though, as you can imagine.
No, not at all.
Well, honestly, the law came into effect. Well, the law was passed and gazetted at the end of April, and we've been quite busy ever since.
Yeah, I would probably venture to say that when the ruminations about it coming into effect, probably some people were already making in their minds, preemptive strike, as it were. So it's the National Pensions Amendment Law of 2020, right? So we're talking about?
Correct. That's what we're talking about, absolutely.
Okay, because let me change my notes, because what I have here is buy chocolate, get heavy cream. Oh, sorry, let me put that as my shopping list.
That's not what I'm talking about. That sounds like your grocery list.
There you go. I put it aside. That's for later. No, I want to joke and jest. But when we were talking about this, recent amendments to the pensions legislation, share with us now, so where we are, and I know there is an application. There are certain particular things that we need to do and the like. Be honored to be sort of guided by you, and again, allow us and our listeners to engage by maybe seeking further clarification, asking some questions, and perhaps sharing a few comments as well.
Sure. So the National Pensions Amendment Law 2020, it has two distinct parts. One is the holiday, which that came into effect on the 1st of April. That means that no one's required to pay contributions at this point in time for about 6 months. But the key part that most people want to talk about is the emergency withdrawal provision that came into effect on the 1st of May, and that will be in effect for the next 6 months. So as part of that provision, persons can apply at
through their pension plan administrator. There is an application on our website, which is dlp.gov.ky. We have a yellow box that has all of the critical information in it. So if you go to the yellow box, you'll find everything you need to know in there. So the application is there. Also, the pension administrators themselves, they also have the application on their website. So you can go either to our website or to their website, where you'll find the same information. So we have the application is already posted there. We also have frequently asked questions. In addition to that, the list of all the pension plan, the multi-employer pension plan administrators, as well as their contact information, the critical email addresses. And as part of the application process, people have to provide a notarized or a certified, and certified by a JP is what I mean by certified, copy of their identification. And there's a list of the notary publics on the website as well as the list of the JPs. So like I said, the yellow box on our website has all the critical information that you need to know.
Okay. And we are, as we listen to you, just quickly got a message. Well, let me ask you as it comes in.
Sure.
It talks about emergency pensions withdrawal. Whether this is a question you can answer or not. The person asking about is the word emergency in its normal connotation, or is it just the choice of words that the policymakers and parliamentarians decide to use?
That's actually the term that's contained in the legislation. It actually calls it emergency withdrawal. So that's why we, in our public education and press releases, and as well as we speak about it, that's why we refer to it as that way. If you actually get a copy of the amendment, the 2020 amendment, it actually has, it's on page 7 if you happen to get a copy. It's considered Part 7B, emergency withdrawal of pension funds. That's actually what it says in the legislation. That's why I use that terminology in my communication.
Okay, well, thank you very much, and appreciate the person asking, because I think some of us would, and I'm not going to dwell on the word emergency, but see an emergency as just that. It's an emergency, and
Well, I think the naming just goes back to the point that under normal circumstances, I don't think the government would have permitted the withdrawal of this nature. But given that we are in COVID and the consequences of that, this is considered a national emergency. So therefore, emergency withdrawal. I think that's how the naming came to be.
Yes, and I certainly know that in watching your presentations in the past, having you as a guest, you're very technical, very specific, and you cover in great detail with absolute clarity. And you're very comprehensive. We will, at some point, open up the phone lines for callers to share. But I think it would be helpful, unless you want to guide us otherwise, to give you an opportunity to share with us. We do have a few callers already lined up. You tell us what's better for you.
Well, let me just cover some key points first, so that everybody has the same information. I've done a few public education events thus far, and I just want to make sure that all of the listeners on this program get the same information, right?
Right.
So I explained kind of the application process. You fill out the application form, then you have to provide an ID, a government-issued ID. Let me clarify that. A government-issued ID, which is either your passport, your driver's license, or your voter's ID. Any of the three is acceptable. And then it would have to be certified by a JP or notarized by a notary public. And then you would submit both documents to your pension plan administrator, and that will start your application process. Another key aspect of it is how much money you'll be able to withdraw. So there is actually a formula that is on the form itself. It's contained in the legislation. It's on the form, and I can go through it now if that would be helpful.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Okay. So the formula is, if your account value is CI $10,000 or less, then as a member, you will be able to withdraw 100% of your account value, so the full amount, right? If your account value is $10,000 or more, then you will be able to withdraw $10,000 plus 25% of the remaining balance. So, for as an example, if your balance was $11,000, you would be able to get the $10,000, right? Then the remaining balance would be $1,000, and you'd be able to get 25% or a quarter of the $1,000, which is $250. So your amount you'd be able to withdraw on an $11,000 balance is $10,250. So that's kind of the formula. That's the yes. So that's the formula that is used in order to determine the amount of money that you are eligible to receive.
And as you shared, that is if the person wants to withdraw up until that maximum amount.
Correct.
But they may decide, you know what, we don't want 5,000 now because.
Yes. Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Actually, on the application form, there is the ability to indicate if you want an alternative amount. It can be lower than the amount the law gives. The law provides the maximum you can get. But if you want a lesser sum, then you can indicate whatever sum it is that you want. As long as it's not over what the law allows for, then the pension administrator will pay that to you.
Okay. And now with respect, there is the sort of the time frame. You make an application, the law provides for certain things. Help us to get an understanding of that again.
Okay, so the member puts in their application along with the documentation I talked about, your identification. Then 7 days after you have submitted that information, then the administrator is required by law to provide you with an acknowledgement. So they'll provide you, send it by email, you get it by email, kind of that way. Then 14 days after the acknowledgement, then the administrator is required to notify you of the decision, whether or not your application has been accepted or rejected. Now, let me indicate at this point that a key part of the acceptance process is to make sure you have the notarized ID. If you don't have notarized ID, then you're going to get your application is going to be rejected because that's required by law. Therefore, the administrator can't process your application without that critical piece of information, right?
So you can go to a notary as you shared or a justice of the peace or JP, either one.
That's correct. That is correct. And like I said, there is a list of both. We have our website linked to the judicial website, which is where that information is really kept. But we have a link on our website, so you can actually find those persons on the judicial website by going to ours. As I said, there's a link there. So you can find it. And, of course, you know, several people know justice of peace in their community. You don't have to go to anybody special. As long as they have a JP certification or a notary or they're a notary public, then any person will be able to fulfill that role for you. In addition, the other time frame that's critical is 45 days. So I was going through 7, 14, and 45. Those are like the critical time frames. So 7 days after you put in your application, the administrator acknowledges. 14 days after that, you get your decision, yes or no. And then 45 days. But the 45 days actually starts from the beginning of when the application was submitted. Just so you know, it doesn't continue. It's not 45 days after the 14. It's 45 days from the beginning. So 45 days is then when you can expect to receive your payment. So applications that were put in early May, you should be getting a payment around the middle of June. Yes. So those are the key things. On the application form itself, it will ask you, given the current circumstances that we're in, we're asking people to provide their banking information because it will be easier on the administrator to do an electronic transfer into your account. So they're asking that information is actually requested as part of the application process. And then you would provide that information when you submit it, and then the payment will go directly into your account. You won't get a check. If for some reason you have to get a check because you don't have a bank account, then of course that will have to be facilitated. But we are asking people to provide their banking information just to make it's easier, it's more efficient, and it's more time sensitive for people to provide the banking information in order to allow the administrator to provide the payment.
So just for I guess clarity, 4 to 5 days, that's the maximum timeline, or is there an additional, days after that 4 to 5?
No, 45 days is the maximum timeline. At 45 days after you put in your application is when you should expect payment.
Okay. And then we've heard that the pension administrators and the like need to do stuff in order to ensure that they calculate, how much money there is, and there's this process.
Yeah.
do you wish to speak to that at any point? How that works? At what month or period in which they're looking at the calculation?
Well, the calculation is based upon the month you put in your application. So if you put your application in May, then it will be paid based upon the May NAV, which stands for the net asset value. If you put it in June, then you'll get the June net asset value.
Okay. And does it matter if that let's just use May for instance, if it's May 1st or May the 31st, if it's a work day or a public holiday or a weekend that you put, you submit your application, um, they calculate it in the month in which it's submitted, whether it's the 1st or the 31st, in an example of May.
No, it doesn't matter for the most part, because there's one administrator who actually has a slightly different structure, but the majority of them have a monthly NAV. So whether you put it in on the 1st or the 31st won't matter. You'll still get the same value because the values are done monthly. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that makes it clear, but it doesn't hurt, I don't think, to repeat it for those of us. So that is a sum that the administrators will compute based on how the fund is performing for that particular month. So it'll vary. The person that does it in May may find that the person that's done it in August or October even, I think it's when it ends at present, the values could be different.
The values will be different, yeah. Month over month, the values will be different, absolutely.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, so that helps. All right. Share this some more now, so that we have that we know that we have to fill out the form, we have to either get it notarized by notary public or certified by a justice of the peace. We need to have one of the 3 government issued IDs. I think for reference, you said passport, license, or voter's card. We fill out the form. Is there anything particular about the process of filling out the form? I know some can do it online and just submit it. Some have to print it off and fill it out. Is there anything either about the form that's peculiar? Is there any information that's requested in the form that you complete that is specific and maybe difficult for some to be able to satisfy the information that's being asked?
Well, I mean, we recognize that not everybody is technologically savvy. So there is a possibility of collecting a hard copy of the form. We've actually started last week. We started to distribute hard copies of the applications to the supermarkets and the post offices, some of the post offices. So if you want a hard copy, you may be able to look there to get a hard copy. If you are, in fact, more technically savvy and you feel comfortable filling out the documentation on administrator's website, then, of course, you're free to do so. Several of them have used the application in their own individual systems in order to allow for a more efficient processing time and in order to make it easier for them to deal with the magnitude of work that they currently have to do. They have introduced electronic processing. So it's whatever the member feels most comfortable with.
Okay. Now, in that 14 days, as you shared, this first 7 is to acknowledge, then the 14 in which the administrator to get back to you to say it's been approved or rejected. Let's use the process. If it's approved, the administrator will get back, probably an email saying, yep, we received it, it's been approved, we're in the process now, we're going through. What more would probably be asked if it's approved? Would just be a simple acknowledgement that, we're approving and we're in the process now of getting everything sorted out. You get your money in, as soon as we can. Or is it more to it from that perspective once it's approved?
No, once it's approved, you should get an email back from the administrator confirming the application has been approved. They should indicate to you around the time frame you can expect to get your payment. That would be it. That would be all you would expect at the approval process, and then, of course, the payment will come later. If, however, it's refused, for example, they should explain to you why it's refused. The most common reason it's refused is because you didn't provide the notary ID. That's why I made sure to discuss that in the beginning. So if it's refused, what you would need to do is to resubmit with the actual identification so that they then have that information and can include that in your processing time going forward. Because without the ID, they cannot proceed. The law requires the ID. They have no choice but to refuse. So you would then submit that information, and then the application would be reconsidered, and then you would proceed from there.
All right. Now, with respect to the a possible refusal,
Yes.
in addition to it not having the ID or having the ID submitted, but it's not certified by a JP or notarized by a notary public, are there other reasons why potentially, or have you heard of any other reasons that applications have been refused?
Well, yes. For example, the law requires that the person who is applying must either be on island or have left the island from the 1st of February 2020 or later. So if someone who is applying from overseas has left the island prior to the 1st of February 2020, they would be refused because they wouldn't be eligible. In addition, there is the ability for public servants to access, so persons who work for government can access, but they can only access contributions that weren't actually paid for by government. So, for example, let's say you currently work for government in a ministry, for argument's sake, and now before that, let's say you worked for an accounting firm or a restaurant or someplace, you would be able to access the pension contributions paid for in the private sector by the accounting firm or the restaurant in my example, but you wouldn't be able to access any monies paid for by government or a statutory authority. So those things are looked at as well to make sure that the person that's applying for the funds is actually eligible to receive the funds. So those would be indications of reasons you would also get your application would be rejected.
Okay, so in that case then, all right, and then if there's a refusal, is there any sort of appeal from the administrator to, for example, a tribunal, the Department of Labor, pensions? Is there any sort of appeal process, so want of a better phrase?
No, there is an appeal process. Actually, you can appeal to the director. And in order to do so, what you would do is then submit an email to our office. Our email address is dlp@gov.ky, and you would provide an email to us explaining why your application was rejected. That would be included with the information you got from the administrator. So you would send that information along to us for us to revisit it and to discuss with the administrator the reason the refusal occurred in the first place.
Okay. We have had, if I may ask of you, and of course, we're speaking to Ms. Emma Wollaston. We're going to open the phone lines after the break to talk and allow our listeners to ask questions directly. So, Ms. Emma, thank you so much for being available. We have had a number of calls publicly and off air from individuals who said, and they may be referring to pension plan provider A or B or C or D. There are some probably that are more perhaps publicly complained about, as it were. But individuals have indicated, for example, that they've submitted their documents, and it could be, a month, 20 days, 30 days that they haven't heard anything back yet, from their pension provider. No response, automatic or otherwise. I mean, nothing. What do you say to people in that instance?
Well, first of all, I would say please make sure you check the time frames that I've explained about the 7 and the 14 days, because a couple of people have complained to us as well, but the time frame hadn't yet expired. So make sure you check the time frames first. And then if you find that you haven't gotten a response within, let's say, 3 to 5 days of when you should have received a response, then please feel free to report it to our office. You can use the email address dlp@gov.ky to report it, and then we will bring those issues up with the administrators. I'm actually this week having calls with them in order to make sure everyone is progressing their applications, and we can touch base and see where they are.
And then that email again is dlp@gov.ky?
Yes. There are some, I think people also need to be cognizant of the volume of applications that have been submitted. So let me just share with you. For example, there have been 20,000 applications approved in the month of May. That's 20,000. That is more applications than have ever been processed in any month the entire pension law has been in effect. So I say that so that people understand the volume of work that the administrators are dealing with, and have a little bit of patience and realize, okay, they may be a couple days behind, but just bear with them. No one's trying to ignore you, or no one is purposely doing anything. It's just a matter of the volume. They had to gear up for the amount of work that this involves. So I'm just saying people need to have a little patience. But, if you haven't gotten a response a week after you should have gotten a response, then please make sure you let us know. And we will certainly look into it on your behalf and then communicate back with you.
Okay. So a week or so may be reasonable. 2 or 3, 4 weeks after may not be.
No, because if, for example, if you put in your application, let's just say you put it in on the 4th of May, right? 7 days, the law says 7 days. 7 days would be the 11th of May. So if you add, let's say you just add 5 more days to that, that's the 16th. If you haven't gotten at least an acknowledgement by the 16th, then you should report that to us so that we're aware. The time shouldn't double before you actually get the task accomplished. That wouldn't be acceptable. That they need to make sure they're working. Their administrative systems are better than that.
And not to exhaust it, but if it's an acknowledgement, it's just that, hey, Ms. Banks, we have received your application in the process or whichever. Just a simple acknowledgement saying we received it.
Exactly. They have 7 days to provide an acknowledgement to the member. And then after the 7 days, they have 14 days to provide the member with a decision, either positive or negative, whichever way it is.
Okay, fair enough. And then as we go to the break, perhaps you could ask this other question. If someone is considering making an application, has not as yet submitted his or her request, can they still do so? At what point in time down the road is this present sort of window open to? I believe it's to the end of October, but you share with us. Can the person still make an application?
That's actually correct, yes. So the amendment law has 2 sections. One is about the holiday, which I briefly spoke about at the beginning. The holiday expires at the end of September unless government extends it or cabinet extends it. And the emergency provisions started in May and expires at the end of October unless government extends it again. So there is the option for cabinet to extend it, which I don't know at this point if they will, but based upon what has been passed in the LA, it expires at the end of October.
So technically speaking, I have to look at the calendar to see, what date. The end of October has 31 days. I think this year is
31 days, yes.
Yeah. So this year's October we still have 31 days. Okay. Just making sure. And I believe that may be a Saturday or something, but I'm not 100% sure. That's why I was asking the question about a Monday or a Friday or a Saturday or a public holiday. So technically, then a person can, if come October they decide that they wish to take advantage of this opportunity or avail themselves of the provision, they have up until October 31st to send an email or make an application, technically.
Technically, yes. They have until the 31st of October to make an application. But, of course, if you waited that long, you better make sure it has everything it's supposed to have when you submit it. Because if you don't provide everything, then obviously it can't be processed, and then you'll be outside the time frame.
There you go. All right. Ms. Amy, let's pause quickly and take a short break. When we come back, I want to invite you to share other things. But before we go to the break, is there anything particular you want to say to us so that we don't lose the train of thought during the break?
Well, no, I would just say, please make sure to check out our website. We have our frequently asked questions posted in that yellow box I was referring to. And a lot of the information that I'm sharing with you is actually captured there. So that's a good reference point for people.
Okay, well, our website again, just tell us again. So people can do the break.
It's dlp.gov.ky.
dlp.gov.ky.
Yep, that's it.
Of course, you said a similar, it's an email, DLP.
The email is @gov, and the website is .gov.
All right, there you go. We're going to pause and take a short break. Ms. Amy will rejoin us after the break. If you are listening and you have a call, a question, a comment, or a query, please give us a shout, 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. Always appreciate the wonderful company of our civil servants, and in particular today, Ms. Amy Wollaston. So please stay tuned for Talk Today.
The hurricane season is here. Are you ready? If not, now is the time to prepare. Follow Water Authority on social media for useful hurricane preparedness tips and important customer service announcement throughout the 2019 hurricane season. You can also download free hurricane preparedness brochures from the Water Authority's website at www.waterauthority.ky. Be aware, be safe, be prepared.
Honey,
Our fridge has stopped working again. Everything in the freezer is melting. We need to get this repaired right away. I'm calling Brand Source Service.
When you need the very best appliance service, call Brand Source Service at 623-5000. Offering service and installation of all brands and models of appliances. Brand Source Service is Cayman's source for appliance parts and repairs with qualified and experienced technicians and the island's largest stock of appliance parts. Brand Source Service will have your repair completed in a flash. So, whatever the problem is, call the experts at 623-5000. Brand Source Service, Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park. Telephone 623-5000.
Stop the spread of coronavirus by washing your hands with soap frequently. If none is available, use an alcohol-based hand sanitizer. Stay at home whenever you can. Avoid close contact with people outside your household by staying a minimum of 6 feet apart and wear a mask while in public. For more information, go to www.gov.ky/coronavirus.
Social distancing is crucial for our community to get back to normal. And never before has communication been so crucial. Keeping in touch with family, friends, and up to date requires you to stay in touch. Green Turtle offers the solution for both. Download the Green Turtle app now. Top up yours or a loved one's phone with any mobile carrier in any destination in Cayman. Phones delivered to your home, and with the new rewards program, you can even redeem points towards a new phone and other products. Download the Green Turtle app today. Green Turtle is not only the future of mobile, but today it can help save a life. Hashtag Stay Home Cayman. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app. The future of mobile, saving lives today.
You may be home isolating, but your taste buds can explore the world. Dragon Inn Restaurant in Countryside Plaza, offering savory dishes in traditional, authentic, American, Szechuan, Mandarin, Filipino cuisine, and Cantonese style, made fresh daily. Family dinner specials, rich in taste with no MSG. Choose from stir fry, chop suey, chow mein, sweet and sour, and so much more. Call 947-1166. Pick up Monday to Saturday from 10:30 a.m. until 7 p.m. Delivery 7 days per week until 9 p.m. Dragon Inn Restaurant and Countryside Plaza. Daily lunch specials and combinations, bringing international deliciousness to your doorstep. Call 947-1166 to place your order.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
If you want to call and share your thought. But if you don't mind me saying, if you just listen intently to Miss Ema Williston, you get all your questions asked and answered. Miss Ema, I say that sincerely, because I think all of us recognize you make an excellent presentation. So thanks again.
Thank you very much. That's very kind of you.
Well, it is very truthful, so I can say it without any fair contradiction. During the break, got a couple of WhatsApp and sort of other electronic messages, a couple of comments shared off here as well.
Okay.
And I'll just share with you because they all seem to relate to two particular companies. They all seem to be around the same sort of question. I know you went over it earlier and you gave the email to respond, but all of these individuals have shared, they've been contacting the pension administrator. Their response has either been very delayed, in one case, certainly past the initial 7 days, and also past the the additional or the 14 days. Some 20 25 days, they still haven't had a response. You said, remind us again what you said we should do in that instance if that happens.
Okay. I said, well, let me add this part too, just to be sure, because some of the administrators have added an email address, let's say a new email address, as part of the process. So, for example, some of them have one address where you send an inquiry and another address where you send your application. So the first thing I would ask people to do is go on our website, which is dlp.gov.ky. In the yellow box, there is, I think it says pension plans. If you click there, and scroll down, you'll see a list that has the contact information for each of the multi-employer pension plans. And in the table, it will say one email address is for queries and the other one is for the submission of the application. Just verify that you've sent your application to the correct address. That's the first thing I would say you should do. If you find that you did send it to the correct address and you didn't get the response within, it says 7 days, it says 14 days, give it a couple days extra, and you still haven't gotten an acknowledgement or a decision, then you can email our office, and our email address is blp@gov.ky, and indicate with your name and the date you submitted the application, the name of the pension plan, and just say that you've submitted it and you haven't gotten a response back yet. And then what we'll do is inquire with the relevant administrator to find out what's the status of your application as well. I think I also indicated that we are having, conversations with them, particularly this week, to find out where everybody is in terms of their processing. So if there are indeed any problems, then those will be discussed with them at that time for sure.
Okay, great. Now we do have a caller online. Let's take that caller, if you would. Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. Thank you for sharing. Hello, good afternoon.
I have two questions.
Okay, we're speaking to Mr. Wollaston, and we're talking about pensions relative to the pensions amendment for the emergency pensions withdrawal. Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Can you hear me better now?
Okay, well, maybe that call will be late because it's getting us fine chocolate. Are you here? No? Good afternoon.
I just have two questions. If you used to work for the government years ago and you no longer work for the government, can you access that pension or transfer it into a private pension?
There is an ability under the National Pensions Law for you to transfer money from government to the private sector. So you'd have to file the necessary, there's an application form to do that. So you would, presumably you already have an account in the private sector. I made that assumption, sorry. And you get a application form from the private sector administrator. You would fill that out, have them sign, and then you would file that with the public service, and then they will be able to action your transfer from the public service to the private sector.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
That helps. Thank you for listening, for asking. See how you just answer those questions so easily.
Thank you.
No, man. When you do it's amazing. We've had one other quick question of said to us electronically asking. I guess I premise it by saying that a lot of people get increasingly savvy with sending an email and getting a response. But this was asking, do they have phone calls and I guess phone numbers? They're required to have it if they don't, because some people like to call.
Yes, there's the same number I indicated. If you go on our website, there's actually phone numbers. So on the website, in the yellow box again, where it says pension plan, click that link and then scroll down, and you'll see a table that provides you the contact information for the multi-employer plans. And contained in that table are their contact numbers as well as their email addresses. So if you prefer to call, then please feel free to call. No problem. You can call them, and they are all operational. That has already been confirmed. Some of them are working remotely, as you would expect, but their offices are all, I shouldn't say the offices, I should say the systems and their emails are all up and operational, so that should be fine.
Okay, great. Now we have another question in respect to NAFE, and I'll ask it this way. If you wish to venture as to how it's calculated and the like, but the question equally asks not just how it's calculated, but if you don't agree with the calculation, what do you do? Can you do anything?
Then you should talk to the administrator about it. Well, see, this is the thing, and I'm a proponent for public education, so forgive me, because I tend to talk about this issue quite a lot. But people need to be cognizant, conscious, active in monitoring their pension accounts. People have a tendency to criticize the system, but they themselves are not really participating as much as they could. And I don't mean that in an offensive way. I just simply mean that you're getting the money is taken out of your salary and it's paid to your pension plan. It's your money. We've already established that. It's your money. So just be involved. Sorry, my phone is ringing.
Yeah, well, just answer it. I mean, there might be somebody bringing something good for us you can share. That's
No, sorry. Too many phones. No, I just mean that, it's the members' money, and the members should be aware of what is going on with their funds. So it's your money, so therefore participate in the process. So you get a pay slip from your employer, you get a statement from your pension plan administrator. Read the statement. I've heard countless people tell me they throw it in the garbage or they shred it. And I'm just like, oh my God, you need to look at it, because this is your opportunity then to go, did my employer put the money they took from my salary into the pension plan they were supposed to? That is your first clue if anything is not working. That's your first clue. Then look at that and say, okay, is the money there? And then the other question is, okay, what is the administrator saying about that? What's the investment return that's being provided? How much is the administrative cost? Those types of information are critical to know as a member. On top of that, I always talk about the fact that, annual general meetings, almost all of the administrators have annual general meetings. It's the one opportunity as a member that you get to go and physically meet the people who are dealing with the whole pension administration and the investment. And that's the place to go, okay, I need some more explanation. Now, they all have offices, and of course you can make an appointment on any other time. But the annual general meeting is like the day you get the opportunity to talk to these people. They're sitting there. Don't miss the opportunity.
Okay. And just as we get into sort of following that, I just wanted to repeat back what you said. People who have not yet decided whether to apply and they're considering it, they can still go ahead, make the application. They have up until October, because it ends at the end of October to make the application.
Correct.
That's what, okay.
Correct. There's nobody should feel that they have to put in their application. Well, I was going to say in May, but we're now in June. But nobody should feel like they have to put it in like right away. You can put it in at any point in the next 6 months. It's 5 months now. Any point in the next 5 months, and it will be processed, and you will receive the funds.
So you have the opportunity then between now and then to go away.
Absolutely.
Okay. So no rush today if you don't want to.
Nope. No, if you haven't decided, you're not sure if you want to, then you have time.
Okay, all right. And then the other point that we wanted to make in relation to sort of public education, I was just trying. Forgive me, I was trying to go back to a message that someone had sent a couple of weeks back in anticipation of having these discussions. But I recall the gist of it. They had shared that over the years they would inquire with their pension provider. Haven't seen a statement in a couple of months or in a while. Where's my statement? And they were not getting sort of timely responses, so they weren't able to keep. And there's someone to keep up pay slips every month in a file, and then we can go back for 5 years and see it. So in that instance, when people are not getting regular statements, two questions. One, does the law make provision that statements have to be issued regularly? Is it monthly, weekly, quarterly, annually? And if so, to what extent, if the law provides for it? And then secondly, if you're not getting statements on a regular basis, can you demand them? Are you entitled to them? What can you share with us?
Okay, so when it comes to statements, what the law says is that the administrator is required to provide you with a statement annually. So the law says once a year. We did include in there was an amendment in 2016 where we included to increase the frequency of the statements. That's not in effect as yet, but that will make it twice a year. But right now the law says once a year, okay? Then, although the law says once a year, depending upon which administrator you're with, then some administrators actually provide statements with greater frequency. Particularly the larger plans, you'll get it at least twice a year, some of them at least every quarter. So basically 4 times a year. So you just need to clarify with the administrator how many times do they issue their statement, right? Because the law only requires it once, but they are providing information at a greater frequency. But as a member, you just need to know what's the frequency that I can expect to receive the information, right? Once you know that, then you know when to expect it, right? And then if they tell you, for example, you can expect it 4 times a year and you don't actually get it, then the first thing you do is say, okay, it's time for me to get my statement. I didn't get it. Can you please tell me what's going on? Maybe there's a legitimate reason. Maybe there was a delay. They had a printing problem. You never know. It might be something legit. But if you find that even after you've conferred with them as a member, you're still not getting the information you need to know, then again, come to our office or, well, when obviously under the current circumstances we're closed, but I mean contact our office is what I mean. So contact our office, whether that's by phone or by email, and say, this is my circumstances. And then we as the regulator will confer with the administrator in question in order to find out what's the problem.
Okay. Now, with respect to statements, sorry, go ahead. I want to kind of clarify 2 things. That statement is for you, the member, no matter your employer. So is that coming to you directly? Does it have to go through the employer before you receive it? Just the logistics of that relationship between you and as member and the pension plan, and how the statements sort of originate and how you receive them. Not necessarily that it's convenient to be handed out, with a mail card, but is that a personal thing and private to you as a member?
Let me actually thank you for bringing that up, because this is actually one of the things I don't think people really appreciate. So when you enroll, the administrator will ask you there's an enrollment form you fill out as a member, right? Now, you enroll through your employer, right? So you fill out the form. On the form, it will ask you, obviously, your demographics, but it will also ask you for your mailing address. So the question is, what mailing address did you give them? If you gave them your employer's mailing address, then that's where the statement goes. If you gave them your personal mailing address, then that's where the statement goes. So, for example, if you then change employers, then you need to tell the pension plan administrator, I don't work for that person anymore, and here is my new mailing address, because ideally you wouldn't want your pension statement going to your former employer. You would want your pension statement going to your mailing address.
Right.
So what happens, unfortunately quite often, is that people don't update the administrator with the correct mailing address for them, and then they come and complain that they didn't get the statement. But you're not going to get a statement unless you told the administrator, this is where I want you to send the statement. So you have to make sure, this is what I talk about people being actively involved in the process. Because as a member, there are certain things that you need to do. The administrator has their part, government has this part, the employer has their part, but you as a member have your part. This is part of your responsibility to make sure I gave them the information, the correct contact information, so that they can send me my statement or whatever else that may be necessary. That way they can get in touch with me.
Okay. Now, with respect, again, to the idea of sort of statements and the like, and then we also want to ask about sort of voting on the pension plan from the employee or an employee's perspective. But the statements, let's say your employer or your pension provider is decide, even though the law says, once a year, they can send it out twice a year, not even 4 times, but let's say twice a year. But you as a member say, well, listen, I like it a little bit more often than that, 2 questions. In order to calculate the NAV, is the pension administrator by law required to do that monthly calculation and submit it to your offices as a regulator?
NAV doesn't come to our office. They calculate the NAV based upon the investments and the performance of the investments, as well as the contributions that are being paid in. All of that goes into the NAV. All of that's taken into consideration. So that's how the process works with the NAV. The NAV is actually not filed with our office. That's part of their duties as the administrator. But that information would be available to you as a member when you get the whatever statement it is, whether it's the annual, the one every 6 months, the one quarterly. That information should be on the statement for you to know that.
Right. So presumably that valuations will be done at least every month as part of their internal sort of review.
Yes, at least every month, yes. That would definitely be the case. And then I think you asked if you wanted the statement with greater frequency. I think you asked that as well.
I did, yes.
That's an issue that as a member you could bring up at the annual general meeting. And the reason why I'm saying that is because each plan has rules that they follow. One of their rules would be the frequency that the statement is issued. So if you want to change the rule, it can't just be for you individually. It would have to be for everybody. Mm-hmm. So therefore, you would need to bring that up at the annual general meeting or as part of that process. So there could therefore be a vote in order to determine is everybody else amenable. Because, some person might say, I want a statement every month, but that has costs associated with it. And other people may realize, no, I don't need a monthly statement. I just need a quarterly one. So that's the annual general meeting is the opportunity to discuss those critical issues and then form a consensus or an agreement as to how you're going to go forward.
Okay. And then one final question in relation to education, as you share, as members, I believe as members of society, as members of a voting bloc, we need to take an individual responsibility. So I appreciate your educational perspective. From that perspective, then, the employees in a company, or is it the employer of the in the company who decides, which pension plan the company and its employees would use? Because I think there's a vote at some point. Well, you tell me.
It's the employees that decide. What happens in practice, though, is, for example, when you join a company, they should already have a plan. They may not have the plan that you were with your previous employer, but they should already have a plan, right? So that plan is in place. But as a collective group, as employees, you can say you would like to explore other options, not just this plan, but the other plans that are on island. And then you have a right to say to the employer, we want to research this and have presentations from the other pension plan administrators as well. So as a group, you can go to the employer and say, yes, this is what I want to do. Because realize the money belongs to the employee or the member. It doesn't belong to the employer. So therefore, as a result, you have the right. But you'd have to do it as a group. You as an individual, I wouldn't say you couldn't do it, but you would have greater standing with everybody else working with you in that part. Now, let me openly admit, there are employers on island who are very generous, who will let each person select. So they may have, let's say, 10 employees. 2 of them are with one pension plan, 2 are with another, 3 are someplace else. That is entirely up to the employer to be open to that type of arrangement. But every employer is obligated to have one plan. If your employer is generous and lets you pick from 3, be thankful. That's how generous they are. But every employer must have at least one, and the employees must be involved in the selection process.
Right. And with that, then it comes back to what you were sharing. However you get your, I call it a pay slip. I'm not sure what terms we use these days, but don't look at how much money you get into your bank account, but look at your deductions. Look at the pension contributions, the healthcare. That's part and parcel of your, your pay package, right? All right.
It has your salary, but it also has all your deductions. So look at the whole thing.
Exactly. Wasim, we certainly appreciate you sharing with us this afternoon, and I know, as usual, it's very informative. Thank you so much again. Any closing thoughts you may want to leave with us, Mom?
My closing thoughts would be for people to look at our website, dlp.gov.ky. Look in the yellow box. That's where all the critical information is, the FAQs, the list of all the pension plans. Also, be mindful of the volume of work that the administrators are currently under. So, have a little patience. Give them a couple of days grace before you say they haven't come back to me. But if they don't, then of course, email our department and we'll be happy to assist.
That's dlp@gov.ky if they need to email your department.
That is correct. dlp@gov.ky.
All right. But thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon and the week as well, Mom.
Thank you. You too.
All right. With that, we'll pause and take a break. When we come back, well, some open line here on Talk Today.
Your 2 p.m. headlines brought to you by greenturtle.ky. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app, the future of mobile, saving lives today.
Today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
It's only 2 species that we have, on Cayman.
Your voice, your choice.
It is in the best interest of the people of these islands.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. Registered nurse at the Health Services Authority, Sophia Morgan, makes a plea to the public to respect social distancing practices using a mask and hand hygiene. The lives of healthcare workers are at risk to provide treatment and care. Ms. Morgan says they become the eyes and ears for a patient's family, as visiting time for critically ill patients is only 15 minutes. In international news, as the United States reels from social, economic, and health crises, President Donald Trump began his Wednesday with a Twitter spree defending himself, attacking his critics and suggesting he's done more for Black Americans than any president, with the possible exception of Abraham Lincoln. The tweets come as the White House is facing ongoing fallout from the president's response to ongoing protests. Secretary of Defense Mark Esper is on shaky ground with the White House after saying Wednesday that he does not support using active duty troops to quell the large-scale protests across the United States triggered by the death of George Floyd, and those forces should only be used in a law enforcement role as a last resort. UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson is concerned not enough people are getting tested for COVID-19 in the UK. The concern is that not everyone is asking for tests when they are showing symptoms. Surveys suggest there are around 8,000 new infections a day, but at the moment the national testing system is picking up less than 2,000. Those are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins.
Your 2 p.m. headlines brought to you by greenturtle.ky. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app, the future of mobile, saving lives today.
Social distancing is crucial for our community to get back to normal. And never before has communication been so crucial. Keeping in touch with family, friends, and up-to-date requires you to stay in touch. Green Turtle offers the solution for both. Download the Green Turtle app now. Top up yours or a loved one's phone with any mobile carrier in any destination in Cayman. Phones delivered to your home, and with the new rewards program, you can even redeem points towards a new phone and other products. Download the Green Turtle app today. Green Turtle is not only the future of mobile, but today it can help save a life. Hashtag Stay Home Cayman. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app, the future of mobile, saving lives today.
For the latest in news and information,
Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
your voice, your choice, your radio.
It's important for older people to focus on maintaining healthy habits during isolation to avoid negativity. Here's how Northsider John Edward Ebanks has been remaining positive during this difficult time.
Stay home and follow protocol is a plus for your well-being and others as well. Take care of yourself. Relax as much as you can. Learn to fight the boredom. Keeping in touch with others and family members and friends. Always look for the positive in life and know who to call when you need help.
If you or someone you know needs assistance, call the Older Persons Helpline at 1-800-534-2222 today for free and confidential support. This message was brought to you by the Department of Children and Family Services.
You know, when we look back at our teens, quite often we come to appreciate our parents' efforts to keep us safe. What was restrictive then becomes sound reasoning as an adult. The current curfews are much the same. Temporary restrictions for our community with your long-term health and welfare in mind. We will mature through these challenging times and emerge stronger. Stay responsible now so that our future can be bright. Hashtag Stay Home Cayman.
During these challenging times, it can be easy to lose sight of all that we have to be grateful for. As the world grapples with the effects of COVID-19, At the forefront of the fight are the many frontline workers diligently ensuring the continuity of our islands. From the police service, members of the National Emergency Operations Center, healthcare workers, the DEH, grocery and pharmacy attendants, and so many more. Along with the daily conch call at 6:59 p.m., Radio Cayman invites the community to call in to talk today, every Friday, for Frontline Fridays. Share your stories and experiences and let us as a community start the gratitude trend to the many people putting their lives on the front line. Whether you have a family member on the front line and wish to give them a shout out, or if you have a personal experience of Cayman kindness, we want to hear from you. Frontline Fridays, every Friday on Talk Today.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us. There's no press briefing today, so guess what? Be with us until another 21 minutes. Take you up until 2:30. You can call and share your thoughts if you so choose. Two options, 9498037, or if you're a Flow subscriber, then you can use the toll-free line 1-800-534-8255. If you send a WhatsApp, Miss Susan will get it and share it, and we'll listen. If it's a voice note, we'll play it. If not, we'll read it so that others can hear your thoughts as well, if that is your intent. Or WhatsApp 925-3261. Very, very grateful earlier for Ms. Amy Wollaston over the Department of Labor and Pensions for taking the time to share with us about the pensions withdrawal. And as she shared, if you have any particular questions, if you feel that your pension administrator taking a little bit too long to get back to you, then please send the regulator an email, dlp@gov.ky. So look at their website, dlp.gov.ky, to see if the questions you have the answers for right there. Maybe figure out how to go about the process. But I think the primary point of contact initially is with your pensions provider. And if you're just joining or you're unclear, she did say, as it is now, have until October to make the application. Don't leave it, to the 31st, because in case there's something going on that you need to get information for. But, by all means, it's part and parcel of where we are with what we doing. And, as we know, 10 minutes past 2, we take you up until 2:30. And as you heard in our news just earlier, continue to be mindful of what is transpiring around the globe, and be in prayer, for the world and its leadership, for the people. Someone sent me something earlier that I thought was, really, really, really telling. I know there are many of us who don't necessarily like, spiritual discussions and spirituality, and there are others of us that appreciate that it is just what makes us move and succeed. So the problem is sin, not skin. The answer is grace, not race. Says Jesus died for all. The world or nation, needs the Lord and Savior. And I think sometimes we're too quick to be so dismissive because we think our intellect, our possessions, our position, perhaps that particular, the thing that we believe makes us whatever it is, we will fail. And if you had what I think was a distinct privilege and for me an honor and a pleasure to join our first discussion, Dr. Shillenford and his excellent family, and his wife, Ms. Angeline in particular, joining us earlier, as Dr. Timothy was reminding us, some people, you just draw strength from their courage and conviction, from their faith, their resolve and resilience, and to be able to put forward such energy that encourages so many of us. I think we can draw strength. Now, we live in an interesting time. We hear words like unprecedented. But we sometimes fail to realize that for some of us, our parents and grandparents, they may have lived through a few wars. That we may recall the stories of not just times when, well, if we listen to the opportunities that we've had over the years, just here on Talk Today, just on Talk Today alone, I know it's the art have had even more engaging conversations on the program for the record the mornings. But when we talk to people who tell us, that during the World War II, for instance, here on Grand Cayman, here in the Cayman Islands, there was uh, much fear, despite not being necessarily on the front lines. When you hear, that phrase, it conjures up images of soldiers, more than likely not returning, and if they do, not in the same state, in foxhole and in trenches back then, standing on, the risk of landing on landmines. Now, for those of us who have friends and family who are fighting skirmishes across the globe, there are these IEDs that maim and injure and kill, and they have to return to us. But even here in Cayman, where reports of, German U-boats, the submarines out and about, the lanterns, being off at night so that the coastline was not visible from offshore. When we recognize that many of our very own not only served and gave the ultimate sacrifice. And I share that to ask, what are we doing? How are we doing it? Are we puffing our chests, trying to appease our own conscience? Are we so full of, self-aggrandizement that we are all about, that potential award or accolade that we'll receive? Or are we genuinely looking at the need and figuring out how can we respond in kindness to help others? Not because we expect, someone to pat us on the back or for us to feel good about ourselves and our actions, or even to pad our resumes or to make it look good for the next, application, whatever that may be. With that in mind, what have you seen or heard or experienced that does two things? Always like the positive, by all means. I think we should always share, and be as positive as we can, but with great respect. Too many times we've turned a blind eye to things that aren't right, never been corrected. We never held people accountable. We not accepted sufficient responsibility. And so those things fester and they become sadly sometimes the norm. And then when they do, we have to wonder why there's a devalued sense in our society. So as we celebrate and share the positive, are we equally prepared to be responsible in our actions and endeavors? Are we prepared equally to hold others accountable? Hopefully, recognizing that we too should be held accountable. But share with us your thoughts. 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. If you want to record a voice note or just type it up and send it through, well, our WhatsApp is equally available to you. 925-3261. Let's be mindful that not only, you know, we ourselves, our colleagues and co-workers, and the wider members of our community, our neighbors, our friends, our families, but our children perhaps are facing unprecedented pressures. We may not see nor really appreciate the level of stress that they're facing. We may assume, and that is something that I think is unfortunate when we do, because we can quickly recall why we say we shouldn't assume, just get it wrong when we do, right? That's what they say. Yeah. That because our children or young adolescents, the millennials themselves are very comfortable with navigating the technology. They're used to being on their devices and living in that sort of environment. Well, this may be different for even them. Then we say, well, our elderly, let's stay away in order to keep them safe. But I am again reminded of the excellent discussion and points that were shared with us yesterday from members of the Council on our Elderly. Our elderly are people whose experience, whose expertise, and whose experiences not only shape and inform our world, our own opinions and actions, but through their continuing service been the bedrock, that been that solid foundation on which our society continues to thrive. And when we heard yesterday, for instance, that potentially, because we're physically absent from them, that we could be putting them at great risk, perhaps even greater risk, certainly in all our endeavors and interactions with the elderly. I think we always need to be absolutely respectful and cordial, to be very deliberate in ensuring their safety, security, their sanity, and the like. And now that we see how they quickly are willing to adapt and embrace the technology, as the lady caller from the back reminds us, not all are as comfortable with using the latest technology that we have, and even if they are, do they necessarily want to do so? If you heard the sort of little reels that we played here on Radio Cayman, with great respect to just the more recent ones of Captain Paul and Mr. John Edward, the great lady of Miss Mary Lawrence, honorable former honorable speaker of the House, shared. She has a big yard and a big garden, and she's very active in her reading and her writing and her goings and comings. But what is it that she shared that she misses the most? Being able to physically engage and interact with family and friends, not just when they're sick to check on them, not just when they're in bereavement to help to console them, but just to engage them. And that is why I think this particular community, but not unlike other communities, need to ensure that, as Ms. Lucy reminded us yesterday, that we have a society that values and respects our elderly, that they can age gracefully, that they can feel continually a very, very meaningful part of our society, not just because they have so much more that they want and can contribute, but they may just want to, I've worked the last 50 years. Today I want to go fishing. In fact, I'm going to go to the bank and I don't want to spend 2 hours in line. They should be quickly ushered in and assisted, offered up a cup of tea or coffee or water, or just shown absolute deference. Think about it. If we get to that age, God's willing, how would we like to be treated? But yet, sadly, some societies don't necessarily take time and don't make it accommodating. Others, it is just who they are. What is our society like? What are we going to make it like? Not just for our elderly, for our children, but for all of us, at least for those two segments of our society. Well, you have a thought, a comment, a question? Well, we'll take our final break, and when we come back, share with us. I think it's Wednesday. You might say, oops, it's probably October. Well, it probably feels that way already. So give us a shout. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Social distancing is crucial for our community to get back to normal. And never before has communication been so crucial. Keeping in touch with family, friends, and up to date requires you to stay in touch. Green Turtle offers the solution for both. Download the Green Turtle app now. Top up yours or a loved one's phone with any mobile carrier in any destination in Cayman. Phones delivered to your home, and with the new rewards program, you can even redeem points towards a new phone and other products. Download the Green Turtle app today. Green Turtle is not only the future of mobile, but today it can help save a life. Hashtag Stay Home Cayman. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app. The future of mobile, saving lives today.
Wow, looks good. What is that?
Chicken chair.
What did you just say to me?
Chicken chair.
I am not a chicken.
Whoa! I said chicken share. It's from KFC. Bucket of 12 hot wings, 6 pieces of chicken, or 8 tenders. KFC chicken share. Just $12 each.
Oh,
Want some chicken, tenders, or hot wings?
You're sharing your chicken share with me? The new chicken share from KFC, just $12 each, and it's finger-licking good. Dine at KFC Baytown Plaza, KFC Shedden Road, or KFC at the Strand.
GIS produced and hosted a teen panel featuring teenagers discussing how they are coping with COVID-19.
Child Month Teen Panel 2020. Our topic is one that is dominating the news agenda globally, the COVID-19 pandemic.
Listen this Wednesday at 7:30 p.m.
The COVID-19 pandemic.
Hear the voices of your young people, Cayman.
Our specific focus is the impact that COVID-19 is having on our teenagers.
This Wednesday evening at 7:30, right here on Radio Cayman.
Brought to you by the Department of Children and Family Services.
Stay home and be a part of the listening audience.
The Cayman Islands government wishes to advise the public that they will continue to distribute reusable cloth masks across the Cayman Islands with the assistance of the RCIPS Community Police Officer and Community Safety Officer in your areas. Officers will be visiting homes in all districts over the next few weeks, and a limited supply of both disposable and reusable masks will also be available at supermarkets. Remember, you are required to wear a mask when indoors in any public place and when using public transportation. Continue to maintain a minimum of 6-foot distance at all times from persons who do not live in your own household, and wash hands frequently. Stay safe, Cayman.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you for joining us. And it's a quick note for tomorrow's discussion. We invite you to join us as we have the excellent company of both Dr. Mark Lockhart and Dr. Alexandra Borden joining us and have a discussion. We're going to focus on mental health and wellness. We're going to focus specifically on our elderly and our youth. And we get a chance to look at the scenario, perhaps not just engage our listeners, but to invite you to call and share your thoughts. Maybe there are particular things that you have questions about that you're wondering. As a simple example that I think is significant. It's not just that it should be passing. How many of us already are feeling as if we have, become conditioned? We are looking at the day and asking ourselves, and being able to define the day by, is it our day to go out? Words like being, released, words like lockdown, words that are indicative of some sort of prison environment. Some joke and jest and say, you're all under house arrest. But do, the things that are transpiring now, do we know how they will affect us for years to come, and our young people in particular? Do we need to set about specifically and very deliberately to ensure that they don't become these things that no longer think and act with the same level of passion and conviction? Will it be a better world at the end of the day? Will we see less greed and more gratitude? Or will we see people, self-serving and self-aggrandizing? Or will we see a society that is willing to share and share alike? As many of us who, grew up in a Cayman, that was the mantra. What you had, your neighbors had as well, so that nobody went, without. One person didn't get sort of fat off the soil while the other endured famine. Much that we can do, but sometimes, it's because we're prepared to stand in the gap and be responsible and hold others accountable and call them out. Other times, it was because we were the example and that rock. We look at our elderly in particular and understand that they were stalwarts. The example still shines as a beacon for us. How are we responding to not only preserve their legacy, but to ensure that they themselves, while they're still here in this part of the realm, that they can feel the appreciation, the value, and the respect, to have the access, and to know that there is a gratitude in our society that through our very actions and our attitudes convey to them that have a level of appreciation. There are many who are concerned not just about the continued education for themselves and their children, but are questioning as we open up the business sector and get the economic engine, sort of churning again, whether it's development and construction or other things. What about our healthcare? Not only the needs and safety of the healthcare workers, but for those patients for whom those appointments and follow-up checkups and diagnostics and elective surgeries and the like that are yet to be rescheduled when the ones were postponed. When will that once again, come about? So that the, light at the end of the tunnel isn't just a bright, shining thing that is blinding, but instead is reflecting a beautiful path ahead. Well, join us tomorrow for more talk today, right after the midday news and midday meditation. Again, God's willing, we're glad that both Dr. Lockhart and Dr. Borden accepted the invitation to join us. But as Miss Susan is the boss, honestly and gratefully, we go to the phones. We have one call. Good afternoon. Thank you for calling.
Good afternoon, Stanley. How are you this afternoon?
Blessed and thankful. And yourself?
Be blessed a little more if I got that ring come down your last me.
Well, I tell you what, looking good.
Yeah, Stanley.
Yes, sir.
I went to the police station one time concerning the little parking by the post office.
Uh-huh.
They told me they couldn't do anything. They would have to get the permission or the word from someone inside of the post office.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why people like to go there. It's small, and you got elder people. And they go there and park, they go elsewhere to shop and come back. I've been talking to security about it. Security said they've been speaking to the more customers. It's not good. When the elder people come, they should be able to get right there to check the box and go on by the business.
Exactly.
You're young and strong. You shouldn't be parking there and going against security problem and things like that. No, it shouldn't. Police should be giving tickets to them like that. Check them out and give them tickets.
Yeah, man. I'm sorry you and so many others in the community face those little things, but that speaks to a community that isn't mindful. I would even go as far as say isn't respectful. There's a parking space. If you're not using the business way park there, if you're not, got a permit, the little blue decal, whatever it is to park in that spot, why are you parking in that? If you go into the post office, now I must confess, when I go to the post office, I am honored when I get a couple of minutes to come inside. The staff in there are phenomenal. I mean, it's good to say hello. I miss that. Right? I don't need to just check my box. The Westwood Post Office, right by Mr. Surgeon's shop. Right? Yeah, man. And sometimes there are two staff in there, sometimes there's only one, and you get a chance to chat with them. They're amazing. It's that social interaction, not just to check in the mail. But what can we do, sir? I mean, for people who park there and not use the facility, who park in the spot that they're not designated to park in, how do we get people not to do those things?
That's true. And I don't think it much sense going to police car and seeing police parking there and going shopping.
You can say that, huh? But again, it's so. But that's the thing, right? How many of us, whether we're the police officer, or whether we're the pastor, the principal, whether we're the parent, whether we're just, whoever, there's so many of us that do things without realizing that we're not setting a good example. Huh?
There's another one too, on the Sound Road. You got I don't know if he's still a police. I know him for a long time. He's still a police, but he's an ex-police number what he is. I've seen him giving tickets to people park on the yellow line, people park on sidewalk, and he got the whole sidewalk take up there by his garage. The King's Garage or something border with Thompson. And right across from Valley Cool Spot. The road is narrow up through there, and he got cars parked on that whole sidewalk along front of his place.
Yeah.
Nobody can walk on the sidewalk.
Again, not setting an example. that we could, or not realizing that our actions are being seen by others, huh? And yeah, sir. Well, let's keep talking about those things. Maybe we're just not sufficiently mindful of our behavior. We just do it so often that we take it for granted and don't realize how it's impacting others, huh?
Yeah. Well, okay, that's all I have to say today. There ain't much to talk about police or whatever, but that's what it is.
All right, well, you enjoy that rain when it comes, okay?
But yeah, man, I'm in the bed.
All the best to you, sir. You know what? It's the rain from on high that blesses, and thank you all very much. And as the caller just shared, just stop. We can point fingers all the time, but let's look and see how we can look at ourselves and see what our actions are like, how it affects others, and especially if we're in particular positions, maybe we're not sure how others see us, so make it the very best. Tomorrow, Dr. Lockhart, Dr. Borden will be our guest. We invite you to be part of a discussion. Until then, be blessed.
Talk Today is brought to you by Fidelity Bank. For all your banking needs, visit fidelitygroup.com. Fidelity, we're good for you.
Also brought to you by greenturtle.ky. Take a ride on the Green Turtle Express today. Download the Green Turtle app. The future of mobile. Saving lives today.
All that talk, sit back, relax. Easy listening on the way. You're listening to Susan on the PM Show, Radio Cayman.
Tomorrow's so far away. There's something I just have to say. I don't think I could hide what I'm feeling inside. Another day, knowing I love you. And I'm getting too close again. I don't wanna see it end. If I tell you tonight, would you turn on the lights, walk away, knowing I love you? I'm gonna take you by surprise and make you realize, Amanda. I'm gonna tell you right away, I can't wait another day, Amanda. I'm gonna say it like a man and make you understand, Amanda. I love you. And I feel like today's the day. Looking for the words to say. Do you wanna be free? Are you ready for me to feel this way? I don't wanna lose you. So it may be too soon, I know. The feeling takes so long to grow. Close your eyes, give me your hand, darling. Do you feel my heart beating? Do you understand? Do you feel the same? Am I only dreaming? Is this burning an eternal flame? I believe it's meant to be, darling. I watch you when you are sleeping. You belong with me. Do you feel the same? Am I only dreaming? Or is this burning an eternal flame? Say my name. Sun shines through the rain. The whole life so lonely, and then come and ease the pain. I don't wanna lose this feeling at Say my name. Sun shines through the rain. The whole life so lonely, and then come and ease the pain. I don't wanna lose this feeling. Close your eyes, give me your hand. Do you feel my heart beating? Do you understand? Do you feel the same? Am I only dreaming? Or is this burning an eternal flame? Give me your hand, darling. Do you feel my heart beating? Do you understand? Do you feel the same? Am I only dreaming? Is this burning an eternal flame? Close your eyes, give me your hand, darling. Do you feel my heart beating? Do you understand? The same. Am I only dreaming? Give me your hand. Do you feel my heart beating? Do you understand? Do you feel the same? Am I only dreaming? I know there's something in the wake of your smile. I get a notion from the look in your eyes. Yeah, you've built a love, but that love falls apart. Your little piece of heaven turns to dark. Listen to your heart when he's calling for you. Listen to your heart. There's nothing else you can do. I don't know where you're going, and I don't know why, but listen to your heart. before you tell him goodbye. Sometimes you wonder if this fight is worthwhile. The precious moments are all lost in the tide. Yeah, they're swept away, and nothing is what it seems. The feeling of belonging to your dreams. Listen to your heart when he's calling for you. Listen to your heart. There's nothing else you can do. I don't know where you're going, and I don't know why, but listen to your heart before you tell him goodbye. And there are voices that want to be heard. So much to mention, but you can't find the words. The scent of magic, the beauty that's been when love was wilder than the wind. Listen to your heart when he's calling for you. Listen to your heart. There's nothing else you can do. I don't know where you're going, and I don't know why, but listen to your heart before you tell him goodbye. Listen to your heart. I don't know where you're going, and I don't know why, but listen to your heart before you tell him goodbye.